Cersei Lannister has always been a ruthless and hateful woman, to quote her brother and lover Jaime Lannister. We have seen Cersei hatch several schemes in her time, all in the name of protecting her family and doing what feels good, and wielding power by any means necessary. Jaime, until recently, has practically lived for Cersei, and he admits to Brienne that everything that he's done it for the sake of Cersei. So let's take a look at some of Cersei and Jaime's power moves and make predictions on their reunion in Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 5. It seems that Cersei carries bitterness for being born a girl. On the Red Keep with Sansa, Cersei talks about how she should have been born a boy. She sees her lot in life as a pitiful one, being sold to a stranger like a horse to be ridden whenever he desired. There are many moments with Robert and Tywin where Cersei obviously maintains stubbornness, but there is a sense of powerlessness as well. When you think of Cersei's love life, it's a tragic one. She was first infatuated with Rhaegar Targaryen, but Aerys refused Tywin, saying that Cersei was too common for the Dragon Prince. Then after the rebellion, she married Robert Baratheon and became Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, but her marriage was crushed on its wedding night under the shadow of Lyanna Stark. However, Jaime was the only one who loved Cersei, and he was the one man she was forbidden to have an open relationship with. While Robert is alive, Cersei doesn't get to really demonstrate her power, but after his death, which she helped arrange, she fully comes into her own as Queen Regent. She tries to control and manipulate everything within her reach, including her son, King Joffrey. And we know it doesn't quite work out as she planned, as Joffrey soon gains interest in Margaery Tyrell. It is important to remember that Cersei is obsessed with gaining power and keeping it on her own terms. Cersei loves to exercise her immense power to get revenge and protect her own. In her own mind, no one else matters, and it is as she told Joffrey in Season 1, everyone who isn't us is an enemy. Cersei's moment with Ned Stark is one of the most memorable lines of the series. In the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. We need to remember that Cersei has been in the game for a long time, and she's gone from Tywin's chess piece to player in her own right. In her time on the show, she's managed to decimate houses, all the while building her own following using promises and manipulation. The Queen also has a pattern of threatening to burn cities to the ground and family houses to the ground in order to keep her children safe. She tells Jaime she will burn Dorne if they hurt Myrcella, and Cersei also tells Tywin that she will burn House Lannister to the ground before she lets Tommen be ripped apart by Tywin and Marjorie's manipulations. These threats have been building up until we arrive at Cersei's biggest and most memorable power play, destroying the Sept of Baelor with Wildfire and thus taking out many of her enemies in one fell swoop. However, her triumphant moment turns to ashes in her mouth as Tommen kills himself after the death of Margaery. With all three of her children dead, Cersei is even more dangerous. She has nothing to nurture, nothing to make her soft. And Cersei has nothing to make her human anymore. Her whole existence was wrapped around power and revenge. We see this at the end of Season 6 when she is coronated as Queen of the Seven Kingdoms. Surprisingly though, a couple of Cersei's most chilling and horrific moments are when she decides to keep her enemies alive. Septa Unella, she knows this firsthand. When Cersei finally has her down in the Black Cells, she tells the Septa, "You're not going to die for a long time." She leaves Unella screaming in the sadistic hands of the reanimated Gregor Clegane and shuts the door. Now, this leaves the audience to only imagine what cruelties Unella will experience. There's no death, no giant wildfire explosions, simply a shut door and some screaming. Cersei also repeats this process with Illyria Sand and her daughter Tyene. After she kisses Tyene with the poisoned lips, Cersei explains to Illyria the vengeful plan. Illyria will be made to witness every moment of Tyene's death and her aftermath. Cersei warns her that if she tries to starve herself, they will force food down her throat, and in this case, Cersei knows that death will be a blessing for her, and she will not grant it. We have to ask the question, does it get any more gruesome or ruthless than that? Looking back on Missandei's execution, it almost seems merciful except for the fact that Missandei was used to fuel Dany's fire. When we see Dany stalk away at the end of the episode, she looks enraged. Is this what Cersei was trying to do to make Daenerys enraged? Think about it. She could have ended Dany and her army with the flick of her wrist, but she doesn't. And we know that Cersei likes to make her worst enemy suffer while she stands by and gloats. Just take a look at what Qyburn tells Bronn in episode 2 of season 8, that Cersei has other plans for the Targaryen girl, and she has a keen sense of poetic justice. Cersei doesn't want to just keep the Iron Throne, she wants to make Dany suffer greatly for ever trying to take it back. But the question is, was killing Missandei a setup to get Dany to the point where she uses Drogon to bring fire and blood to King's Landing, and any hidden wildfire? We see how Dany feels alone and unwanted in Westeros over the past few episodes. Cersei can easily make that happen in the next episode, and Dany losing the throne would be even more devastating, but what would be even worse is for her to return to the start of her character arc, powerless, friendless, and running for her life. Instead of Daenerys dying, what if Cersei brought her to another low point and made her a beggar queen? Again, this is just an idea, but I firmly believe that Daenerys will die. But what if the last part of her journey is paved with the same stones she started with? A huge theory is that Cersei still has caches of wildfire around King's Landing, and her threat of burning cities and houses to the ground might be a callback to her own conscience, knowing that she has actual ammunition to do it. I mean, we've seen her destroy the Sept of Baelor without even batting an eye. But was that just a warm-up for when Daenerys and Jon come to King's Landing for the throne, is the big question. One thing we do know is that Cersei won't just stand aside. It's not in her nature, and the throne is the last thing she has left, and she intends to keep it at all costs. We have plenty of evidence that colors Cersei as the Mad Queen, and it stands to reason that she could have the exact same plan that Mad King Aerys did. Essentially fight fire with wildfire. And Cersei already said in the past that she doesn't really care about the people of King's Landing, so the idea of killing 1 million innocents probably doesn't mean anything to her, as long as their deaths do not cast her in a negative light. One thing that Cersei has learned from her father Tywin is to try and manipulate the circumstances so that she won't bear the blame. We could see Cersei use King's Landing like a chessboard, moving her wildfire into key positions to hold the city hostage. And we already see that she's pulling the people back inside the city gates, so is she going to use them as a human shield or a means to manipulate the circumstances in her favor? However, the possible wildcard in this situation in Cersei's life is Euron Greyjoy. In episode 4, we see Euron Greyjoy get on one knee in what looks to be like a marriage proposal. Will Cersei accept or use this as a bargaining tool to once again make Euron deal with her enemies? Euron has claimed that his dream is to marry the most beautiful woman in the world, but if she is blatantly using him, how far will he go for her? How many errands will he have to run before it is enough? And what will he do once he reaches that limit? There are theories that Cersei will meet her end at the hands of Euron. He's like a few other characters that meet the requirement to be the Valonqar, and right now, he's one of the few that's close enough to kill her. And Tyrion spilled the beans in the last episode, knowing about Cersei being pregnant, which Euron just found about in episode 4. In episode 4, Jaime leaves Brienne and heads to Cersei because he believes he is hateful like his sister. Jaime lists all the horrible things he's done just to get to Cersei, including trying to kill Bran, murdering his own cousin, threatening to kill everyone at Riverrun. His whole purpose seems to be wrapped around Cersei, but I believe his ride to King's Landing isn't to save Cersei, it's to destroy her and possibly himself. For almost all of his life, Jaime has been a knight struggling with the idea of honor and keeping his vows. As we discussed in a previous video, Jaime is jaded after this time protecting King Aerys, and has a long road to get where he is now. But Brienne has changed him for the better, and his swan song will be repeating the actions that earned him the name the Kingslayer, except this time it will be his sister Cersei. If you think about it, their whole lives have been building up to this moment. When they were born, it is said that Jaime came into the world holding Cersei's heel. And Jaime's name is derived from James, which means supplanter, or to supersede by force or treachery, and seizing the heel. Jaime has already killed one crazed monarch for the purpose of saving innocent people. He will have to repeat it again, but not just for the people of King's Landing, he will be doing it for himself as well. And each time Jaime and Cersei are described, it's with the idea of some sort of connection. Cersei says that she and Jaime are one person in two bodies, and when they are together, that she feels whole. She tells Ned that they came into the world together and that they belong together as well. Does that mean they have to die together as well? Can one survive without the other? I'm really skeptical because there is more than one probable outcome. We could see Jaime kill Cersei while King's Landing burns around them and he decides to resign himself to burning with it and dying with Cersei. We could see Jaime kill Cersei, but only after she somehow fatally wounds him as well. Or we could see Jaime kill Cersei and ride back to Brienne. I know the last option is highly unlikely, as Jaime's words in their last conversation with Brienne seem to indicate that he didn't want her to follow him, and he had one last thing to do. But let's go back to Jaime using the word hateful with Cersei. The last time he used the word with Cersei was in their controversial scene in the Sept. "You're a hateful woman. Why have the gods made me love a hateful woman?" However, in the last episode, Jaime answered that question. She's a hateful woman, and so am I. He recognizes that once again that he's like Cersei, but look at his body language with Brienne. He takes her hand for a brief moment and looks pained when she starts to cry. This is the new Jaime Lannister, perhaps the Jaime he would have been if he had not allowed himself to be completely overwhelmed by Cersei. Even though he may want to stay in Winterfell with Brienne, he knows that his destiny, and always has been, with Cersei, for better or for worse. I can't help but feel like this moment mirrors the conversation that Tyrion had with Shae, where he offers her a better life and tries to push her away. And wouldn't it be really twisted if Jaime said the things I do for love over and over and over like Mad King Aerys Targaryen as he choked the life out of her, putting her down like a rabid dog? This would take Jaime full circle. And after all, Bran did say, "You won't be able to help us in this fight if I let them murder you." And Sansa also stated in episode 4, "I've always wanted to be there at your sister's execution." So it will be interesting to see how these explosive characters play the game in the final 2 episodes of Game of Thrones. I do think that Jaime is the best candidate to deal with Cersei in the end. I do think he's going to kill her, but we can't rule out that in the end, that old habits die hard. But what do you think? Will Jaime kill Cersei and end her mad reign? Will he help someone else kill Cersei, or help spring a trap to deal with Cersei with someone like Jon Snow, or Tyrion, or Arya, or maybe even Daenerys? Or will he find Cersei already gravely wounded and choose to die with her as Daenerys sieges the Red Keep? Let me know your thoughts, your theories, and your tinfoil in the comment section. Also, a big thank you to Amy for helping me with this video. Let's show Amy some hype and love in the comment section. And if you do want to see more Game of Thrones videos like this one, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get updated for my daily Game of Thrones videos that I'll be dropping on the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all in the next video. Hype and love.